We are Group 7 and we will report about the case of Lilian L. Mercado versus Allied Banking Corporation. So to briefly introduce the case is about Lilian L. Mercado versus Allied Banking Corporation, General Registered numbered 171460, dated on July 27, 2007. So who are the petitioners and the respondent? The petitioners are Lilian N. Mercado, Cynthia M. Pecaris, and Julian Mercado Jr., represented by their attorney-in-fact, Alfredo M. Perez, and the respondent is no other than Allied Banking Corporation.
The summary of the case. On May 28, 1992, Pearl executed a special power of attorney in favor of her husband, Julian D. Mercado, over several pieces of land in Oriental Mindoro, Muntinlupa, Cavite, and RT 10338 with 805 square meters of the Registry of Deeds of Pasig, now Makati. The SPA authorized Jillian to act on her behalf to sell, alienate, mortgage, lease, and deal otherwise over the different parcels of land and property, including a 1983 Toyota vehicle. On December 12, 1996, Jillian borrowed a loan amounting to 3 million pesos to the respondent with the collateral of real estate mortgage that is constituted on TCT number RT 18206, which covers a piece of land with an area of 805 square meters, registered with the Registry of Deeds of Quezon City, which is the subject property. On February 5, 1997, Jillian borrowed an additional loan from the respondent in the sum of 5 million pesos, evidenced by a promissory note, and still using the subject property as security.
Julian failed to pay his loan to the bank, which resulted in the initiated extrajudicial foreclosure proceedings by the respondent over the subject property, and was auctioned off, in which the respondent or the bank was declared the highest bidder. Petitioners instigated the RPC an act to annul the real estate mortgage over the subject property due to the grounds on which the subject property was not stated in the SPA. The petitioners likewise argued that the SPA was revoked on March 10, 1993, prior to the loan agreement between Julian and the respondent. Petitioners likewise said that the Registry of Deeds of Quezon City must have been notified on any attempt to mortgage or sell the subject property, and there must be her full consent document, and if there is none, it is null and void. The RTC proclaimed that the real estate mortgage is null and void, but the respondent was not satisfied with the decision and petitioned to the Court of Appeals, in which the COA ruled in favor of the bank. And lastly, the petitioners were not satisfied and therefore presented the case to the Supreme Court, in which the court declared that the decision of the COA reversed in agreement with the RTC with modification. Further elaboration will be discussed later on with the video in relation to the court's decision and rulings.
Here are the issues of the case. It is stated that there was no property identified in the SPA as TCT number RT 18206-106338 and registered with the Registry of Deeds of Quezon City. What was identified in the SPA instead was the property covered by TCT number RT 1063338, registered with the Registry of Deeds of Pasig. Another issue is that Julian failed to pay his loan, so the property was foreclosed and auctioned, and that's where another issue began. The petitioners initiated that the SPA no longer had force and effect at the time when the loan obligations were contracted, because it was revoked by Perla on March 10, 1993. This removes Julian's right to use the properties in the SPA as collateral for the loan he made to Allied Bank Corporation. The petitioners then alleged that with a copy of the revocation of the SPA, Perla notified the Registry of Deeds of Quezon City that any attempt to mortgage or sell the subject property must be with their full consent.
Decisions and rulings. Lilian Mercado et al. Are favorable in this case. Allied Banking is in an unpropitious situation. As a banking company, the statute requires the respondent to take additional care than an ordinary cautious man might determine the status and condition of the collateral provided as security and check the agent's authority handling these assets. Real estate contract mortgage enacted over the subject property preserved by the TCT number RT 18206-106338 and recorded with the Quezon City Registry of Deeds are unenforceable. For the RTC decision, RTC finally concluded that the real estate mortgages secured by the subject property are enforceable and not null and void. As the RTC determined, it is the best to reiterate that Julian entered into the mortgage on behalf of Perla without Perla's consent, rendering it unenforceable under the Article 1403 of the Civil Code. Unenforceable contracts are those that cannot be enforced in court without being ratified, either because they were entered into without or in excess of authority, or because they violate the statute of frauds, or because both contracting parties lack the required legal capacity. And again, for the RTC decision, in summary, RTC holds that the real estate mortgage contracts entered into over the subject property covered by the TCT number RT 18206, registered with the Quezon City Registry of Deeds, are void. As a result, the foreclosure proceedings and subsequent auction, sale of the subject property are null and void. This, however, is without a prejudice to the respondent's right to pursue Julian's personally for the amount of the loan. Wherefore, in the view of the foregoing, the Court of Appeals decision dated 12th of October 2005 and resolution dated 15th of February 2006 in CAGR CV number 82636 are hereby reversed. The Regional Trial Court of Quezon City Branch 220's decision dated on the 23rd of September 2003 in the civil case number Q9937145 is hereby reinstated and affirmed without the modification that the real estate mortgage created over the TCT number RT 18206 are not null and void, but unenforceable. There are no associated costs.
So, to highlight and to conclude that why is it unenforceable? Well, according to Article 1317, no one may contract in the name of another without being authorized by the latter or unless he has by law a right to represent him. A contract entered into in the name of another by one who has no authority or legal representation or who has acted beyond his powers shall be unenforceable unless it is ratified expressly or impliedly by the person on whose behalf it has been executed before it is revoked by other contracting party. So in the SPA, it is clearly stated that Julian will only have authority or power on the following assets. Here are the, kindly just look at my screen and just view it and read it thoroughly. And you will find in there that the one he used for mortgage is not part of that SPA. Next slide, please. So nowhere is it stated in the SPA that Julian's authority extends to the subject property covered by TCT number RT 18206, registered with the Registry of Deeds of Quezon City. Consequently, the act of Julian of constituting a mortgage over the subject property is unenforceable for having been done with no authority or legal representation, and he acted on his own powers, since the SPA did not include the RT 18206. So in conclusion, it is an unenforceable contract. It is valid, it is not void. It is valid, it is not void, but it is just an unenforceable contract. And we would like to end the presentation and thank you for listening.